Welcome to all listeners of this Q&A session about Nanosoma. Today we have the pleasure to have here with us today Dr. Raghavan, the inventor and producer of Nanosoma, an innovative natural supplement that is patented in about 80% of the countries worldwide and is having a great impact on people's health, especially in cases you wouldn't even expect to see much results with conventional medicine and sometimes even with alternative medicine. So thank you for being here.
Yeah, most welcome.
So before we dive into the questions, I'd like to ask you, what do you think is important to know about Nanosoma? Just 2 sentences to recap what it is, and then we move on with the questions.
So basically, Nanosoma is, extract of food, and it is present in every food in the world. Even the bark of trees, leaves, a lot of them, you have the ingredients that you have in Nanosoma. So basically, it helps the body heal itself. So, the body is capable of healing itself, provided you give it the right tools. And Nanosoma is one such tool.
Yes, and the special, let's say ingredient, the natural ingredient inside is called policosanol, right?
Right.
Right. So, okay, the main point here is that it triggers something in the body that heals itself. It's not a supplement or a product that cures, treats, or heals anything, right?
Correct.
Yeah. So I have there's a list of questions here. Some of them are mine, some of them of clients of mine. And these questions have arisen after listening to your online presentation. And that are published on my YouTube channel. However, just telling this so people know that you can also find it by subscribing to any of my websites linked in the YouTube description. So let's start. Let's dive into it.
Go ahead.
So the first question, doctor, is in your online conference, there is a case of hyperthyroidism where the patient after 15 months stopped using Nanosoma, and after 23 months, that is 8 months later, her thyroid values were still within the norm. So does this mean that a person can stop using Nanosoma after he has healed or not? Because I think there are cases where people slip back to their previous symptoms, but maybe it also depends on how long you've been using it, or could you just please elaborate on this?
Yeah, basically it's this, Nanosoma, our product has nothing to do with disease. It has to boost your immune system. So it boosts your immune system, which then the body does the rest. Now, this lady stopped, taking it, but also she could have been, doing the other things that you need to do, being in the sun, producing vitamin D, eating the right foods and exercise. This is also the key. You don't necessarily have to have Nanosoma if you have a disciplined life. You eat the right food, which is not synthetic or poison, natural foods. So, but Nanosoma is about preventing also. So let's say you stop, tomorrow a new disease like COVID or something comes along, your body is not ready. So it's about not just about thyroids, it's about the entire human body. And there are so many things that can go wrong in the body, and it is there to prevent it in the first place. I mean, for example, let's say diabetes. Now, diabetes doesn't come overnight. It takes 3-4 years before it really manifests itself as high sugar. So we can prevent that. You see, you may be exposed to diabetes without knowing it. So the idea is to use it. It is food. We eat food every day. So you eat this every day, have this every day. So it's not a drug. It's a drug. Nanosoma is about curing the disease, not the symptoms. This is the key.
Yeah.
The drugs that are present in the world is about controlling the symptoms. So when you go off, it bounces back. For some people, it may take longer than usual. There may be other issues like this. If you want to go from New York to Washington, D.C., there are many routes. Short route, long routes, and so on. Each person goes through a different route, not necessarily through the same route.
Yes. And how I explain it usually to people is that this policosanol basically activates a memory in the body on how to heal itself. So basically, when this is triggered, and you, or as you said, you add good food and healthy diet and taking, like being under the sun and stuff like that, basically then it's easier to maintain your health also.
Correct.
But it is also a prevention, as a stronger prevention. You're more prevented, you're more protected with this polycosonol, because we're so intoxicated with so many things today that it's better to use, something that helps. And that's why people today use like 3, 4, 5 or more supplements. And with Nanosoma, basically, you don't even need to do all that. It's a substitute for using many other products, right?
Correct. You don't need to take vitamin C, because Nano produces vitamin C inside your body. It recycles vitamin C. You don't need to produce vitamin D, take vitamin D pills, because Nano, acts on the vitamin D receptor in the body. It does the job of vitamin D.
Okay.
And a little more, because it works both ways. See, vitamin D, what we call is an agonist, okay? Increases. Whereas vitamin Nano can work both ways. So it can work on hypothyroid as well as hyperthyroid, you see?
Yeah, it's adaptogenic. It has this adaptogenic quality, right?
Yeah. So it is, in a sense, we need to call it an adaptogen. It adapts itself.
Yeah. So basically, if to somebody happens that after using it for some months, they stop using it and they lose the benefit according to the symptoms they have, what would the reason there be?
What?
Let's say that person is using Nanosoma for 3 months or 5 months, 6 months, and then stop. These symptoms come back.
Yeah.
What would the explanation there be?
Yeah, it is not completely cured yet. That's it.
So he needs more time
to
stabilize.
There are certain bacteria which cause disease in the body, or parasite, or what, fungi, or whatever. I don't know about viruses, because I have a question mark on viruses. But these bacteria can adapt, to changing environment. They can mutate, and also they hide everywhere in the body, some deeper than others, many layers it can hide. So all that takes time to extract it out.
Yeah, this comes to the next question, which is correlated to what you just said, is why do some people get COVID or the cold even if they are taking Nanosoma? I mean, they also start taking it more frequently, but the symptoms don't subside quickly. And why is that? Why could that be?
So it's this, two people are not the same. We are 3% similar in terms of our gene function, gene sequencing. The other 97% is bacteria and viruses, and that are different in different people. Our gut bacteria, the bacteria in the mouth and hands, are all different. So you and I are similar, but the 97% of the body, which is not what we're talking about, are different bacteria and viruses. So for example, you go from New York to, let's say, Barcelona, you may get a cold because the bacteria in Barcelona is invading your body, and your body hasn't seen those bacteria, so you get a cold or a fever. You see? Then it adapts and produces antibodies. So next time you go to Barcelona, you're ready. So this can happen anywhere. For example, I'm sitting in this room. If I go upstairs, the bacteria are different. So your immune system has to be constantly updated and working at 100% efficiency. Otherwise, we'll all be dead. And that's the beauty of the immune system. So each person will respond differently depending on the environment and his level of how his immunity is.
Yeah.
And what he eats, for example. Some people may eat this and that food, as other person may not. So there are many other factors, whether he exercises or not. All these add to the time difference it takes.
There's a high variability. I also had a case of a client that which was getting COVID symptoms, but he was 4 times injected, right? Yeah. So also that, I think, influences a lot.
Absolutely. So it takes much longer for the body to get rid of all the crap. So as long as the ingredients of the vaccine are there, he's going to get, your body has a cytokine storm, so you keep getting it.
Yeah.
I mean, COVID is nothing but flu. Okay, so let's be very realistic. It gets worse in people who have other symptoms. And or, for example, obesity is one of those things, or diabetes and kidney disease. All these people who already have disease are more vulnerable to the side effects than most people.
Yes, I know this was a bit of it's a complicated question because the expectation of people is always, how much time will I heal, and that's why I asked about this, because there are so many variables to take into account, and we are so used to that mentality. I take a pill and I get the symptoms, get rid of the symptoms in a week, a month. But this is not the case with this total different approach to health.
Yeah, but right? You see, with the drugs, once you're on it forever. It is also affecting your immune system and gut bacteria. It is setting up the stage for the next disease. This is very important. See, any drug that affects your liver, elevates your liver enzymes, or affects your gut bacteria is going to cause future diseases. Nanosoma doesn't do that. So,
yeah. Okay, great. Let's go on next question. So, why isn't your product much more famous and promoted by doctors, and why isn't it installed in pharmacies?
Because let me put it in a way. It can replace all the pills you take, okay? Nutraceuticals, or it can replace Ayurveda, for example, because it's one product, one-stop solution, okay? We are at the top of Mount Everest, from where I'm affecting all the pathways in the body. Now, if a doctor recommends my product, he's out of business. But if you can buy Nanosoma in public, in a store, why do you need to go? It keeps you healthy. Why would you go? So it's a process of self-preservation. But hopefully over time, the new generation that comes along will learn and replace the old. I mean, this already happened. New ideas are never accepted easily.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, Einstein, it took him 15 years before they even accepted his theory. So we are there, and this is most pharma is driven, and doctors are driven by money. It's about money. We are not driven by money. This is the difference.
This is a business breaker for them. I understand that. Okay, next question is, what could slow down or limit the effectiveness of Nanosoma? You already partially replied to that, so bad eating habits, not getting under the sun. Is there anything else that could slow down or limit the effectiveness?
If you're taking prescription drugs, for example, it could slow it down. But I think, Nanosoma, see, there is the physical and there is the metaphysical. The physical is my product I give you. The metaphysical is to say, this product is going to help me, and to do yoga or meditation or go in the sun. These are the other aspects you need to bring it together. It's just not one product that will do it, but it's a synergy.
Yeah, your attitude and your thoughts also influence your health, because it's not just a question of Nanosoma. I mean, a person who is all day, every day depressed and negative about himself and life won't have the same energy and health as a person who is happy and positive, right?
Yeah, because it's something called mind over health.
Yeah.
They did a study that was published a long time ago, 25, 30 years ago, in Nature or British Medical Journal. They gave somebody who had pain, they gave him a drip and told him it's morphine. The pain went away, but it wasn't morphine. They gave somebody morphine and who had pain and told him it was water. The pain didn't go away. It was mind over matter.
Yeah.
And this is the key. Your mind, I mean, our human mind is amazing. People talk about artificial intelligence, but this product is natural intelligence. It knows what to do. So my product is natural intelligence. See, it's like, my product is like a seed. The seed does nothing if you put it in a bottle. But the minute you put it in soil and water it, life happens.
Yeah.
Same way, my product does nothing if it's sitting in a bottle. The minute you go into your mouth, it explodes with all the pathways in the body and so on. So this is that's why I call it the seed of life, because it came 2 billion years ago. So
yeah, so the body is the soil, right? And if I can also rephrase this concept another way, is it correct to say that if I have a positive attitude towards using Nanosoma, Nanosoma would have a better way of working inside my body, or does that
absolutely, because the minute you think positive, your brain chemistry, serotonin, dopamine levels change.
Yeah, so you're not working against Nanosoma, you're working with Nanosoma, right?
And this is true even today. I mean, most of the so-called prescription drugs are basically that work. Most of the time, it's placebo effect. People say, I went to a doctor, gave me this pill, it's going to work, you know. Mm-hmm. That induces the change. Plus, you know, it has another side of it. Other people say, you know, he gave it to me, I took it. So if it is the placebo effect, it means the body is capable of healing itself. So the more placebo effects you have, which is through the thought process, the quicker you heal. I mean, there are a lot of people in this world who don't take any drugs or prescription drugs. They, you know, they're able to heal themselves by doing the right things.
Okay. So next question is, I'm using Metasomer on my skin since 4 months, says this woman, and I didn't yet see any improvements. Does it maybe depend on my age? She's 72 years old.
Is she taking orally also? I mean, the thing is, you need to take sometimes orally as well.
Because, I think she is. I think she is. Also
anyway, but you know, it's again, I go back to the same thing. Washington to New York, of course, how do we go? Each pathway is different. Her problem could be much deeper, you know. So the Nanosoma has to retrace the pathway. It could be short, it could be long. Short means you heal quickly. Medium means, you know, over some time. And longer path takes longer. So it'll happen. But I cannot predict. The only thing I'm unable to predict is the time. It's impossible to predict. Each person is so unique.
Yeah. But until now, if I understood correctly, whatever disease you tested it with, it worked at the end, right?
Right. At the end, it works. But I can't predict the time because he is sitting somewhere in the world. I don't know what he's eating, people, what he's being exposed to. All these are factors.
Yeah. Well, in time, the key there is also taking responsibility of your health also.
Correct. That's why, you know, the slogan we have is to go from health care, S-C-A-R-E, to healthcare to self-care.
Self-care, yeah.
Self-care is the most important. You need to listen to your body. Very important.
Yeah, I agree totally.
If people are not tuned with it. The minute they become tuned with it, they begin to understand how the body is communicating to you. For example, you may get a little bump here, you may ignore it, but that is something happened inside the body, and this is your whiteboard. It's telling you something has happened. For example, we have seen this in patients who have some dry skin somewhere. And most of the time, it turns out when you have dry skin that it has to do something with thyroids. So the thyroid, if it's giving you and talking to you and telling you, know, I have a problem, fix me, help me. But you see a dry skin, you put something else on it, not go into the sun, put some oil on it. But the problem is elsewhere.
Yes, because so basically, if I have a skin problem, like I have, it's aging too quickly. Maybe, just an example, I have a thyroid issue and I have to first solve that hormonal problem. Correct. And then I might have, or I will eventually have, benefits at the skin level, right?
Correct. That's why the skin is the largest organ in the body for every mammal in the world. This is what protects us from the elements. You know, the skin is all lipids, and Nanosoma is a lipid, you know.
Yeah, and going back to a point I think is very important, you say it's very important to listen to your body. What I saw with myself and also other people already, after taking Nanosoma for about 3 or 4 months, I started to get much more aware of what is good for my body, what is not. And now after a year, I can say it's even stronger. And there are foods that I really cannot eat, or it's very little quantities. And I think that's a good message to give to people that might think, I cannot feel that my body, I don't know how to do that. Well, Nanosoma will help you also with that. So it will help you connect with your body and the messages that it gives you in time.
See, for example, when I go and eat in a restaurant, which I stopped doing, next day, it's going to tell me with a mild problem somewhere, if something was not wrong, something is wrong. And what happens is in most restaurants in the world, they use all these vegetable oils, which is high in omega-6.
Mm-hmm.
And omega-6 is highly inflammatory. And this is what happens in restaurant food, all over the world.
Yeah. I agree. Okay, next question. I read here, could nanosoma improve psychological balance to an 11-year-old girl who is refusing to eat and risking anorexia?
Yeah, it will. It will.
It will.
It will.
Okay.
There are people with, eating disorders, or people who have ADHD, so-called ADHD. So all these people have been, it's a matter of, I don't know, I have a recent paper on neuronal transcription factors. It affects the brain as well. All the genes are expressed that are present in the brain are expressed by nanosoma.
So there is a new balance in the neurotransmitters in the brain, right?
Yes, correct. See, what is happening is basically, I think, is 90% of your body's immune system is in the gut bacteria. 10% is in the brain. So the gut bacteria's immune system needs to talk to the brain immune system. And that is blocked. And that's why you have such a problem. Once it's restored, the communication, things work.
Yeah. Okay. Let's see. Next one. Can nanosoma help those who suffer psychically from depression? This is asked by a 70-year-old woman.
Absolutely.
Yeah, also. And again,
there are people with bipolar disorders, people with brain fog. All this got corrected within them. Some were very quick, some were within a matter of days. Again, I go back. It's not the same with everybody, but it definitely works. I had a guy who was a drug addict, and he was able to stop his addiction in 3 days after 20 years.
Wow.
And he was a drug dealer as well. He didn't want to give me a thing, but he just told me on the phone what happened.
And he was taking, I imagine, not only 5 sprays once a day, it was more times a day?
Yeah, it took probably twice a day, whatever.
Okay.
So I don't think nanosoma has to, after a while, you can take more initially just to get your immune system up. After that, you can bottom out because it recycles itself in the body. And usually, based on what I know, it lasts about 28 days.
One time 5 sprays, it lasts 28 days as an effect in the body?
And then the effect goes away.
Okay.
So if you stop after the 28th day, you might not have much effect.
Mm-hmm. I would like to add something more here to this question of this woman, is that I think also the effect, when this will be solved, it also depends on how many years you've been suffering from depression, right? Because I think that you taught us that for every year of an issue you have, or a disease, you have to use 2 or 3 weeks of nanosoma, right, to get back.
So let's say she's 17 years old, between 34 to 50 weeks, so about 6-8 months. It could be even faster. Again, it depends on the state of our immune system, how bad it is, how compromised it is.
Yeah, and also if you're using drugs and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Okay. And here's a question about how do you use nanosoma for hair loss? Is it with a spray or the gel also, or only the gel? How many times
hair
per
loss,
day?
the best is to put it, you take orally and put it on the area where the hair is, where you have spots, where it's missing.
The spray, right? Yeah. And how many times per day?
I mean, again, it varies. So what you do is after bath, you're ready, you put it on, and before you go to sleep, you put it on. Should work. It has to do, we have found in many cases, it has to do with the low levels of ferritin. That's one of the tests you can do,
Ferritin, okay.
Ferritin, ferritin.
But how about talking about DHT, which is a hormonal issue?
What, DHT?
Yeah.
It expresses, byproduct affects all the nuclear receptors. It's only when you affect the nuclear receptors, you will have, it gives direction, instruction for the body to produce ABC, you know. For example, the shortage of insulin, my product binds and tells the nuclear receptor produce insulin. Or if it is being produced too much, it says produce less insulin. So the same way it will work on every other hormone. It has to come from the nucleus of the cell. And we affect the nucleus of the cell, which means we control the software system of the body.
So I just got a tough question for you. Sorry, doctor, but because I'm interested also about that. You could see, I don't have hair anymore. I'm losing hair. But anyway, let's say that you have too much high levels of DHT from a genetic point of view because your father is like that, and so on. So there's a genetic pattern there. Would it be correct to state that if I start using Nanosoma when I'm 20 years old, so before I start using here, I could prevent losing hair?
It is not genetic most of the time. It's epigenetic.
Epigenetic
is methylation or acylation. And we have also published work on Sirtuin's recent paper and the fact it works on nuclear receptors. So Nanosoma, when it enters the body, brings with it the blueprint of life, as it was 2 billion years ago. Whatever is missing is fixed. Whatever is excess is reduced. That's how it happens.
It's much more simple than we think about disease usually in health. Okay,
so
thank you.
Next generation will not have it. But again, you can still lose hair because you're in an area and your lifestyle is such, it brings about the changes.
Yeah. Okay.
Epigenetics is, excuse me, the genes are written in ink that you cannot erase easily, that you got from your ancestors.
Yeah.
But epigenetics is written with ink where you can erase certain things. Okay, or add certain things. And that's the difference.
Yeah. Okay.
See, if there are twins, they get the same genes from their mother who had, let's say, breast cancer. But they have found, for example, this is an old thing that a gene, one of the sisters was in America, other was in Japan. The one in Japan didn't get breast cancer. The one in the US got it. Again, it shows you the environmental effect on disease, even though you got the same gene. Your gene is a function of the environment. It responds to the environment. If the environment is right, you may not get it.
Yes, but with Nanosoma, even the environment is not right, you will be able to self-heal, correct?
Correct.
Yeah. Okay. This is a question I like very much. Could you please tell us the evolution of your symptoms disappearing from the very start, like 15 years ago, I think, and whatever other health benefits or changes you notice in the years?
Personally?
Yeah.
So personally, I started in 2008. I made the first batch in Switzerland. I started using it. Immediately, I felt my blood pressure become normal. Okay.
Okay.
All my headaches stopped. I haven't got a headache since then.
That was in a month or 2, 3 months?
Yeah.
Or was it
around 2 to 3 months range. See, the more serious your problem, the faster it heals. This is what we've noticed. It'll bring it quickly down, so you feel the effect.
The more life-threatening it is also, right? It's also quicker the effect. Yeah.
Yeah. So then I found out little ailments here and there went away. Okay. My energy level, obviously, but I still exercise. I play badminton, 6, 7 hours, 9 hours a week, even at my age. I can stand, and still run. And I don't sweat even after working it out. So until I sweat, I play. Then I know I got enough exercise. So the amount of food I ate decreased by half.
By half? Wow.
Or more. But I still have the same level of energy. For example, I can go 18 hours without food, no problem. Just water. So what is happening is it has increased the efficiency of metabolism of the food. So if you eat a certain food, Your body will metabolize it depending on your state of the immune system. Maybe give you X amount of calories. But with Nanosoma in, it can give 2X or 3X calories. The same food. So you need less food to eat. So that's the key thing. Other thing is, if I eat foods which the body doesn't agree, it will tell me. Either I get diarrhea right away and eliminate it, or it'll give me a mild, throbbing here saying, hey, you ate the wrong food. I have to connect what I ate to this symptom. This is the key. That's why you have to listen to your body. Yeah. So these are the changes. I get up in the morning. I know that I'm relaxed, body, everything is working well, no pain, nothing whatsoever. And that's the key. So you get up in the morning fresh, knowing that you don't have any symptoms. And your thinking changes. If you have a headache, you cannot think straight. I guarantee anybody in the world. But if you have no headache, you are calm, you become, let's say, I wouldn't say creative, but you are able to focus on the problem. And that's what happened. Before, it would take me half an hour to do a certain job. Now I can do it in 5 minutes. It's not because you're smart. It's because I'm able to focus. That's why they say you focus on a job, you do a better job, So those are the key things that have helped me. The retention of facts, memory, all those things. Yes, there are certain things you forget, but a lot of these things I remember. But you have to listen to your body, very important. You have to, let's say you do certain things and next day something happens. You need to quickly say, what did I do yesterday? What food caused this problem? Once you do that, if I eat certain foods, I know what foods to avoid. You see? I used to drink 3 glasses of wine a week. Today, I can't even touch wine. I can't. It affects me right away. No, you don't need it. Because people don't understand that 1 glass of wine kills 1 billion brain cells.
Didn't know that.
1 billion brain cells die if you take 1 glass of wine. So you can calculate how much you lose when people drink.
So basically, you in years using Nanosoma, you get so much detoxified.
Correct.
And also aware of your body, that you react much more, let's say, from certain foods, which before you didn't even feel the damage, but it was damaging, but now you know and feel it. And so you're able to get it out of your body, and this helps you feel better and better and more energetic.
It detoxifies very efficiently,
Yeah.
When I poop, it's a lot of poop because it's clearing the body. And I never got constipation in the last 15 years. It's clearing, I know. So even you eat less, you may get a lot of poop, but that's because it's clearing the system. Your body is affected by 100 trillion free radicals every day. And there are a lot of toxic stuff in the body, environment, fumes, and so on, chemicals in the food. All this need to be removed. Unless you happen to live in a place in Africa or some other place where the air is clean,
Yeah, I can confirm your example. After 3-4 months, I have a better intestinal peristalsis. It's an amazing difference. And what I'm seeing, from your story is, so we're not talking only about solving some physical issues or diseases, not only prevention, we're also talking about building a better quality of life in the future by using Nanosoma.
It's the quality of life. It's the quality of life that's the key. It's not the quantity. People make tons of money and say, I'm rich, I can do whatever I want. But the great equalizer is the health.
Yeah, and that's for me a key. For me, for example, it's key.
Health is the true wealth. Everything else is relative. If you're not healthy, you cannot make money. You may have money, but you need the health.
Yeah. Great. Amazing. So next question here. Let's say you take Nanosoma for 15 years, like you do, and your age, for example, is 70, but your biological age is 40 45. This means that from a biological and metabolical point of view, you feel like a 45-year-old, right?
Yeah.
But what happens to your physical appearance in that case? Do you look any younger? How much
See,
in
what
your...
it will be is, let's
What's
say
the correlation here?
what happens is, if you took a person who is not taking Nanosoma, who also aged with you, you will see the difference. Let's say I started 10 years ago. I was another person with me, my brother, who did not take it. We grow old together. But I would look as I was when I started. Okay? Or
Really?
somewhere in between, yes. Compared to him who would have aged. Then people will definitely say he's older than me, which may not be the case. We may be the same age. You see that. You see that in people. But metabolically, your body is functioning and you're fit. Okay? See, the human body is capable, I think right now they're talking about 125 years of living. But the key is to live with high quality of life. And that's where I think Nanosoma comes in. We can reverse aging. We've already done that. Everybody who takes it will have reversed age 5 or 10 years easily.
In time, yeah.
Within 6 to 8 months, you will see it. Then it is slower. It's like this. You can go up to 99% efficiency of any process that you're involved in. But to go to the 100% is much, much harder. It takes longer.
So basically what you're saying is that with Nanosoma, you will get older, but at a slower and more healthier pace, right? You will age more gracefully.
Correct.
And live more years, probably, right?
Absolutely, because you have less disease, less symptoms, and obviously you live longer.
Okay, the
America,
government won't be so happy about that.
Huh?
The government won't be so happy about this news.
Yeah, but on the other hand, they're not spending money on you for healthcare. See, it works both ways.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
When you go to hospital in America, they do nothing. They charge you $10,000.
Yeah, in America, it's very hard.
Yeah, so things like that. So this is about preventing and taking charge of your health. This is the funny part, because if I asked you, give me your password for the websites you use, you're going to say no. But on the other hand, we will go to doctor and outsource our health and say, doctor, you take care of me. This is my health. You do it. And that's the funny part among human beings.
Yeah.
They have faith in a system that's not working. I mean, personally, I think Western medicine as practiced today, especially like, I'm not talking about emergency medicine, the other medicine, is in the Stone Age. You hit it, the doctor comes, you give him he gives you a diabetic pill, it doesn't work. Then you go back to him, it's not working, something he'll give you a next one. Like this, he will go through 50, 60 different drugs. So this is not science, this is pseudo medicine. I mean, I don't know what it is. So, but you need to take charge of your health, because your body, you know your body better than anybody. I mean, I can go to the doctor and say, do all the tests and tell me what is wrong with me. He says, nothing. I'll do all the tests. Then you tell him, I have a little tingle here. Only you know that. He doesn't know that. The test will not reveal it. So I think we need to take charge of our body. This is very important. Rather than give it, outsource it. I mean, I understand emergency medicine, car accident and all that. That's I understand, It's good for emergency medicine, the technology, but not for the post-recovery stage.
Yeah. I think we also have to learn to appreciate today, unfortunately, it's a luxury, but with Nanosoma, it's a reality that you can now get older in age without disease, feeling fantastic. And that is priceless to me. And this brings us to the next question, which is more specific to the really advanced age we get to. And it's, when you're at that age, nobody really wants to finish in a retirement home. This is typical, at least in Italy, for example, and most European countries. When we get, let's say, partially abandoned, or we don't live anymore in our house. So I believe Nanosoma could be useful for lengthening the time of being self-sufficient, in a good health at advanced age.
Yeah.
So of course, if you eat well and do some exercise, and you can be self-sufficient until your final days. That's an opinion. That's an opinion. And so, what do you think about this? And are there any studies going in this direction?
I don't know if you have seen this. A doctor in Italy, no, what was his name? Dr. Giovanni. His father had progressive dementia.
Okay.
It's getting worse. So he started Nanosoma. They reversed it. Before he was not self-sufficient. Today,
how old was he, or is he?
92.
92. Wow.
Now, today, he's able to read. He's able to take care of TV. He's able to be self-reliant, and even walks to his son's house every Sunday for lunch. His own father. So it is possible. This is the thing. But you need to have the faith in it, just like anything else. I mean, it's like if I asked you, is your son or daughter going to do well in life? You will say yes. I hope so. You don't say I hope so. I'm sure they will. But that's faith.
Well, when you told me the story of the father of Giovanni, I got the goosebumps. Incredible.
I've seen a few other cases where the recovery is there, but his took 2 years. 2 years. Wow. But doctors were shocked because he has the MRI and CAT scan to show that it reversed. The brain cells came back. And that relates to the paper we published, how it produces neuronal cells.
Okay. Okay, we almost finished here. I have here now a question which is represents the biggest struggle I am having with most of people, and we also touched this argument already, is that how much time they have to wait for the results, because all of them will come in time. That's clear, okay? At least for me. But waiting sometimes 6 months or 1 year or even more is not always easy. So how would you explain the reason why some people's symptoms or ailments disappear so quickly, and other cases so many months or years, and what is really happening in the bodies before they see results with Nanosoma? Because I would like to tell people, even you don't feel results, this and this and this is already happening in your body. You just need to wait.
Yeah, the key is this. They need to do a standard blood test, whatever, some of the biomarkers, whatever, we have. And then they can begin to see the changes themselves. See, Nanosoma enters your body, does something called a triage. What is the most dangerous for your body? It fixes that first.
Would you explain better what's the triage?
Triage is, it ranks problems to be fixed in a certain order. The most threatening ones to your body are fixed first.
Mm-hmm. Even if you're not aware of them, right?
Correct. And the cure changes for different people, as I said, because it retraces the path which created the disease. The path that was for somebody could be short, somebody could be long. The same path is traversed back to when you were normal. You see?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
This is why it takes longer for some people, shorter for some people. I mean, I had people whose arthritis was cured in 3 days, and some people took 2 months. This is the key. But excuse me. For example, we had a lady in, I don't know if you've seen that testimonial. She couldn't walk because she had a knee problem. So she went to MGH, Harvard Medical School. He's a good friend of mine. She lives in Florida. They said we had to operate. She didn't want operation. Then they suggested stem cell therapy, which is more expensive. Plus, there are many unknowns. So she asked me, I said, just use my gel and the spray and see what happens. Within 3 months, it healed completely. And today she's able to walk 4 miles. So,
wow.
She has proof. We have the medical proof. So, So again, it depends. You need to understand your body. When did the disease begin? all the symptoms, what are the pathways you took before you got to this stage? And the body has to go back the same way. It cannot take a shorter because it has to repair the roads through which it came.
So the longer the pathway, the longer the road, more time it's needed to stick.
I will tell you, for me personally, I had this problem where, you know, I couldn't sit in the plane like this and sleep. Okay. Or just get up choking as if I couldn't breathe. Now, I didn't know what it was, you know. Nobody knows the answer. But after taking Nanosoma for 5 years, one fine day, I had a mild fever for about an hour or so. And after that, I found it was gone. Now I can sleep like this. Now, how do you explain it? It's this. The body, Nanosoma said, this is the last problem I got. That was my last problem, actually, that I will solve. It looked for what was causing it. It could be any of the viruses, not viruses, or, you know, bacteria or fungi or parasites or whatever. It had to mount an antibody, produce antibodies to it. That means body's own antibiotics, for example. It has to test it against each one of the millions it produces. When it is ready, it produces a large amount of the one that killed that parasite, and then you recover. So, you know, this is the process that happens with most diseases. Sometimes it's very quick. It finds the victim right away. I mean, the causative agent, as I call it. Sometimes it takes much longer. And the other aspect of it is a lot of these hide in areas of the body which very difficult to access. Bone marrow, for example, they hide a lot of the time. So each time you kill something in the blood, it produces more from the bone marrow, for example. So it hides everywhere. We think, I mean, some people have predicted 14 layers of hiding. It has to create each layer one by one. So it depends. If your product, if your guy is now cleared in the first 5 layers, but not in the last 5 layers, it's going to take longer. But
plus
eventually,
the other factors.
Eventually it works. You got to have faith in it.
Yeah.
For me, that process where I could sit like this and sleep took 5 years. Before that, 10 years before that, I had this problem. And even, I would say, 15 years before that. It started in 95. And it was solved in 2010 after I started Nanosoma in 2009. So, each one, you know, is difficult. This could not have been solved with modern medicine. Nobody knew. Before that, I spoke to so many doctors. They had no idea. They had no clue.
Well, this curious part of what you're talking about right now, I have a very similar issue, maybe the same one. Basically, when I was always sitting and, you know, trying to sleep a bit, I just was without air. And I think it's called sleep apnea. I'm not sure. And after about, I think it was after 10 months of Nanosoma, it just got super drastically reduced. I mean, maybe sometimes it happens, but so slightly. There's something else there left, but I have no explanation either what happened. So, yeah, incredible. Thank you for that. Next question. Do you have any plans, or is there even a possibility to make Nanosoma even stronger or quicker?
We have 5 milligrams. It does the same thing as 2.5 milligrams. That's all. I mean, there is no different. The beauty is we started with 40 milligrams when we started 15 years ago. 40. The cost was too high. Then we made it 20, still high. Made it 10, it was still high. Then we came down to 5, bearable. Now we do 2.5. Now we are trying to do 1 milligram or 1.25 milligrams. Because my product works, if you read some of the papers, in the body, it works at picogram levels. You know, 1 picogram, I think I explained to you what 1 picogram is.
Yes, you did.
You take 1 drop of nano, add 200,000 drops of water. What is left is one picogram. And take 1 milliliter of that, that's 1 picogram.
And that affects all of the nuclear receptors in the body at the same time, right?
Yes. Yeah. So it's that powerful. So I don't think I can get better than this, because the problem everybody has is, why didn't it work for me? It worked for that guy. They don't understand that you're different people. We are all different. We are all different.
The problem is not if the product is strong enough or quick enough. The problem is, what is your attitude towards it? Do you have the patience? Do you have the faith? Are you self-caring? Are you eating well? That's a bigger issue, right?
That's a bigger
being patient.
Yeah. They think they can take everything. When I had my cousin in India, she had a glucose levels of 550, which is fasting. She could go into coma anytime. So when she told me, I gave her a bottle of someone was in India. The next day, it dropped to 350. The day after that was 220, and the fourth day it was 160. So the body drastically brought it down because it was so high, she could have got a stroke or a coma, gone into coma. And then she asked me, I feel good. Can I eat sweets? This is how the body responds, you see. Before she couldn't want to touch because sugar level was high. The sugar level dropped. Now she wants to eat sweets. See, the body is very interesting. That is why when you fall sick, you don't feel like eating food because your taste buds are blocked. The body wants to heal itself. So it's preventing you from eating anything. That's why you can't eat much when you're sick. So the body has defense mechanisms. We are just aiding the defense mechanism with Nanosoma.
Right. Okay. So we came to the last question, Dr. Raghavanich, which is, what would you say to people who haven't yet started to use Nanosoma?
I said, you don't have to use Nanosoma. You can change your lifestyle, eat the right foods, exercise, be in the sun, and do the right things. My grandfather did it. He lived to be 97. But you need to do it in a disciplined manner, and which we don't have. So here is the product that comes along that aids you in the process to get you there. See, what happens is, as you feel better, like you and I do, if something goes wrong, you experience it. You don't want to go back to your original state, you see? And this is the key. So you change your lifestyle. So it brings about lifestyle changes. I've had people who've given up whiskey or, wine, beer, just given up. And some have had the urge for chocolate. It's pretty much gone. I have an urge for chocolate. It's gone completely. If I eat more than two pieces, I have a problem. So it also controls what you eat in a way, but you need to listen to your body and say, hey, I took 3 pieces of chocolate. Now I have this stomach problem or whatever, I shouldn't eat it. And that's the key.
I like very much your response. And I would like to just add something that maybe I shouldn't say, but basically Nanosoma avoids the person to be so disciplined to get that result in health. I mean, you still need to eat as healthy as possible and do some exercise and get under the sun and all of that. But Nanosoma gives you that stress-free way of getting towards the path of health without doing these drastic, strong changes that are necessary in some cases if you don't use it. Am I correct?
Correct. Because people don't want to do exercise, okay? Fine.
Don't want to do it, exactly. Or don't want to change diet, or don't want to let go of wine or of
people
chocolate.
Say, I'll go on a diet. What they don't understand, diets don't work. The reason is your body can extract all the nutrition from the food you eat. But for that, the immune system has to be very strong so that it expresses the right, what we call as receptors. For example, we have something called glucose transporters, sodium transporters. So it picks up glucose from the food, or sodium or potassium or phosphorus from the food we eat, and takes it to the right places. To do that, your immune system must be very strong. That's what Nanosoma does. So when you eat food, it recognizes what is good there, picks it up and takes it to the right place. Whereas if you didn't have Nanosoma, There are no transporters. So transporters are like taxis, like Uber. You will land at an airport, which is your body. Uber drivers ready with a placard taking you somewhere. Without Nanosoma, you don't have an Uber driver. You got to go start looking for something else. So diets never work. Short time, yes, not long time.
Yeah. Great. Well, thank you so much, Dr. Raghavan, for your time.
Mm-hmm.
It was an amazing interview. I've learned so much things. So I'm looking forward. I hope this video will help, clear up doubts that anybody had. And nothing. I thank you very much for bringing this to the world.
Absolutely. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.